warroomsports.com. Get that mobile app.
Hoopheads, what's going on out there? Welcome to another edition of Court Vision, brought to you by War Room Sports in conjunction with Sports Kings. It's been a while since we actually been at you guys, but we're back. I'm Dev, and I'm here at the round table with Frank from the Sports Kings. What's going on, Frank?
Not much. Court Vision, we're just like the Cavs. We got a slow start, but we'll be all right in the long run.
Yeah, we're just trying to get our chemistry, that's all. And we got B. Austin of War Room Sports. B.
Yo, you signed me. You brought me into the league to shoot. I've shot for 19 years. What else you expect me to do? I'm a shooting guard. Stop talking about my percentage.
Do you want me to pass it? No.
Do you want?
The worst part is that B. Austin could have been describing about 10 different players in the league now, including Dion Waiters, who apparently doesn't think he can change his game. He's like, nah, that's not my game anymore. Like he's not the fourth best option on that team, and he needs to adjust around the three other best players. But whatever.
Dion Waiters like, I'm cool. All right, well, speaking of Dion Waiters, let's talk about his team a little bit. Like I said, we haven't been here for a few weeks, so we haven't been able to document our thoughts on the Cavs and their up and down, inconsistent start. Right now, they stand at 6-7, one game under 500, and they are currently the 7th seed in the playoff race, which doesn't mean much at this point because we're still in the first quarter of the season, basically. But what do you guys think about the Cavs, even with a slow start like this, taking into consideration that they're playing in the Eastern Conference? Do you guys still pencil them in for a top 2 seed, or do you think the struggle is real and it'll take chemistry a little longer to come than we may think?
The struggle is definitely real. I will give them what I've always given them, which is I never said top 2. I think I said top 4 seed, just to give myself some leeway because I knew these struggles were going to happen. See, the Cavs and the whole idea that you can just throw together superstars comes from these new people. You know the word that I wanted to really use. The culture of immediacy, all of that won't go too deep, but the notion that you can just throw together talent and you automatically have a team that you can pencil into the finals is crazy. What you're seeing is the struggle. You have a losing culture. You've got guys there in Cleveland that are immensely talented, but used to losing culture and not really playing championship-level basketball. You've got older veterans that have a way of doing things that are now coming in, that their way of doing things may truly be winning basketball, but they're trying to inject that into losing culture. I see them as a top 4 seed. I see them exiting the playoffs probably in the East. I don't see them making it to the finals this year, but eventually they're going to build around LeBron and they're going to make that run. But this year, yeah, top 4 seed. The bench will be the problem, and defensive intensity will be the problem because some of those guys have never really had to play defense. Their answer in terms of defense is just to score more, i.e. their 6-man and their starting point guard as well as their starting power forward. Those guys are not defenders. They don't play playoff defense.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with B. Austin for the most part, though I do think they will ultimately get a top 2 seed just because I think the Raptors and the Wizards are the 2 top teams right now. I think one of those teams will be a mirage. I don't know which one of the 2, but I don't think both of them are going to keep it up. And I think the big advantage that they have is that the Bulls are similarly getting off to a rough. I mean, the Bulls' record is pretty good, but with D Rose and Noah being in and out of the lineup, their chemistry is going to suffer as well. They got some new faces to work into the lineup as well, including D Rose, who hasn't played in 2 years. But I think the biggest issue is the defense. I mean, when you look at that Cavs team, who is playing defense specifically in the post? Who is defending Nene and Marcin Gortat in a 7-game series? Because it's not Kevin Love, and I would doubt Anderson Varejao, who actually has probably been, besides LeBron James, probably been the best player on that team thus far. Anderson Varejao has been a prominent part of the offense.
That's a problem. If you put the team together, and Andy Varejao is your second best performer, that's trouble.
Yeah, that is a problem, and like we also said, there are some long-term concerns in terms of it is a losing culture. So when you get down by 10, all of a sudden Kyrie Irving and Deion Waiters dribble the ball for 18 seconds and then take a bad shot. So I think you're going to see more of that. And I think Deion Waiters, I like Deion Waiters as a player, but I think LeBron is going to tell upper management, Deion, he ain't got to go home, but you got to get up out of here.
Gotta get up out the queue.
Yeah. So I think they'll be fine in the long run, but I think there are some changes that need to be made.
Another issue, and Dev, you may segue to this, is what's up with LeBron and his player coach and the evidence that he is pulling the strings in Cleveland? I mean, is there any merit to that? Do we think that that's an issue manifesting itself on the court? What's up with that?
From what we're hearing, and first off, for me, I just wanted to give a shout out to Andy Varejao because he prompted my 3-year-old son the other day to say, because LeBron James is his favorite player, so I turned on the Cavs game for him. First player he saw was Varejao, and I guess he looked at his hair and he said, "Daddy, the girls and the boys are playing today." I almost that died and came back to life 3 times. So shout out to Andy Varejao for entertaining me in my house through my son and his little 3-year-old quips. But the whole thing about Ron and the situation with him basically essentially being the player coach, LeBron has been outspoken about what Bielsa talked about earlier, and the culture, the losing culture that the guys in Cleveland have, and he's trying to help them break out of that. Brian Windhorst, LeBron's personal pin jockey, even went so far as to say that in those early games when LeBron looked disinterested on the court, he was doing it purposely to allow those guys to shoot themselves out of a game so they can see that the way that they're doing it isn't working. I don't totally buy it. I think Brian Windhorst is a talented journalist, but I don't buy everything he writes about LeBron because he'll never write anything disparaging about LeBron.
How would you know if he's talented since he's so biased?
LeBron is responsible for his career. But that's not the point that we're getting at here. The whole player coach thing, from what I hear, it's getting to the point where it's a little bit awkward because LeBron is, not letting this first-year NBA coach actually be the coach. The coach seems to have to fight his way into the huddle, box out LeBron just to get a few words in during the timeouts on the court. And, it just seems like LeBron is flexing that power that we all know that he has. So I'm not sure, if they're exactly at odds, but I'm also not sure if the dynamics of this relationship can last, past this season, especially if they end up not being as successful as people expect them to be. Because, at some point you got to let the coach, and if you're not going to do that, you're just going to have problems. So, we know who's going to go if somebody has to go, and LeBron has the power to go ahead and handpick his next coach. But it's a crazy dynamic, man. I'm
gonna go a little deeper with it too, because we saw this before. We've seen this play itself out in past. When LeBron first came in the league, he had a coach that was in the mode of, "I'm your pop. I don't care what they're paying you. I will knock you the F out if you don't listen and show some discipline." And they got rid of that, and they got rid of Paul Silas, the good and honorable Paul Silas, and they brought in this Humpty Dumpty Frumpty Dumpty dude that interviewed very well with a bald head and glasses and specialized in defense, they say, and they let the inmates run the asylum, and it worked. It worked to a point where you were successful because LeBron is that talented. But how can you have grown men play for someone who at some level they do not respect because the star player calls the shots? I just don't see how that culture I don't see how that culture works. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, just to add a couple things to that, I think the other thing about David Blatt is honestly, obviously, he's never coached in the NBA before. I'm sure a lot of those guys on the Cavs probably had to look him up when they saw the thing come across their newsfeed that he got hired. So I think it's always tough in any situation to really gain respect, on your first NBA head coaching gig, especially when you have all these expectations and everything else. But I mean, the other thing is that we've seen this story play out in another sense too, is when LeBron went to Miami and he joined Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. They struggled at first too. I think they were 5-6 or 6-7, something like that. And everybody was discussing whether they were going to be over 500 because people were just ragging on them at the time. I'm really laughing at this notion that LeBron intentionally let them shoot themselves out of a game. It's kind of like when you're driving somewhere with your girl and she lets you, even though she doesn't think you know where you're going, she just lets you drive and get lost, so then she can tell you that she's right at the end. So basically, LeBron's like that naggy girlfriend that's letting you get lost so she can say "I told you so" at the end. So that's pretty cool.
Well, the only difference I see in the dynamics between when LeBron super teamed up with Wade and them versus him super teaming up with these guys is, Wade had already had a championship. Bosh had some success in the league. Has been to the playoffs. It's different with this one because Kevin Love has never been to the playoffs. Kyrie Irving has never come close to being in the playoffs. So even though he's joining two other all-stars, two other superstars, they are young, they are inexperienced.
Great point.
So I think it's different. Like the chemistry that they had to find in Miami was, okay, LeBron and Dwayne Wade both need the ball. They're both superstars. What do we do? They got rid of Chris Bosh easily. They just put him on the three-point line. In this situation, everybody knows 100% who the alpha dog is. So there's no struggle for that in the first year. This is just, we have to learn how to play together. This is not an ego struggle or anything like that. So this one is interesting, and it might take a little longer just because of the inexperience of the guys he's playing with. And I would venture to say that at least somebody like Kyrie and probably Dion Waiters, I think LeBron might rub them the wrong way with how he's going about leading this particular team. That's why I said, some reports are saying that his whole player-coach thing is getting a little awkward around there because he's taking himself a little too serious. He's the best player in the world, and he has that power, but, there's a certain way that you want to flex that power when you're still teammates with these guys and you're not really their boss. So
and I'm not mad at Dion. Look, we all agree. Hashtag PSP Philly support Philly. Dion, you'll land on your feet, baby, but you up out of there, boy. I'm saying you gone. Pack your suitcase, put your AR-15 in there, your AK, your Desert Eagle, your slingshot, all of the weapons that you use on the court to get those shots, your sniper rifle. You're up out of there. He's gone. He is gone. Kyrie, they've invested in. They want to figure out how, but I can sense in Kyrie, he's got a little bit of the dog in him, and it manifests itself probably at this point in this stage of his career and level of maturity. It manifests itself as selfishness or immaturity, but he's probably that dog that LeBron needs because he's the guy that wants that shot worse than anyone else in the building at the end of games, and he wants to be the man. That's how it manifests itself, and you need that. So they want to try and make that work. But it's interesting because, as you say, when they all sit down together in the locker room, contracts notwithstanding, endorsements, stature, they probably look at LeBron like, who the F is he? I hoop too, and I'm nice at what I do. So who are you? And how are you talking to me like that?
The last thing I want to add, the one thing I've seen when watching the Cavs is it's really made me appreciate what the Miami Heat had, and specifically what all the sacrifices Chris Bosh made to his game, and it especially shows now that you see Chris Bosh now with the Miami Heat now, and he's balling out in Miami. But it really shows the sacrifices and how hard it is to just go from being the number one option to falling back for LeBron, for the best player in the world, and molding your game around him. And I think you're seeing that adjustment period. And it just really made me appreciate what Miami had all those years, and specifically Chris Bosh.
Well, Chris Bosh still disappointed me a little bit because he definitely has fizzled out since the first week of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a nice fall
I
away the
needed
other
Bosch to be 25,
He
13, 4, and 2.
Yeah, he had a spark when he started.
day.
Y'all know the
now,
right.
now you're
Um,
just garbage.
all right, so let's go to the other side. Let's go to the Western Conference. Oklahoma City. Um, we all know they're without their two superstars, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook might actually suit up and play this Friday. Um, they need one or both of these guys in the worst way because they are sitting at 3-12 and dead last in the Western Conference. Yes, they are worse than the Los Angeles Lakers
They're
at this
behind the
moment as we
Lakers?
speak.
Yeah.
Might be different by the time you guys see this video, but right now they're sitting dead last, even under the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference. All right, with the 3-12 start, with Russell Westbrook possibly coming back at the end of this week, still don't have a definite timetable on Kevin Durant. Do you guys think that Oklahoma City can turn this around and get into the playoffs?
I think it's going to be close. I honestly do. I was nervous when they both first went down. I mean, Westbrook returning this Friday would be great. I think that's a lot sooner than people thought he would. And Westbrook has always been a quick healer and durable for that matter. But for me, they're already 6 games behind. They're already 6 games out of a playoff spot right now. So they're really going to have to not only get all these guys back, but they're going to have no adjustment period and just be, go off right on all cylinders as soon as everybody gets back. And I think it's going to be close. They're going to be in it, but I think towards the end of the season, they're going to be looking back at these first 15 games and being like, damn, we really dropped the ball going 3-12 out of the gate. Obviously, it's not completely their fault, but I think it's going to be the stretch run. They're going to be fighting for that 7, 8, 9 seed in that race.
If this was the Eastern Conference, my answer would be hell yeah, they're
absolutely.
Cool. Right now,
they'll win it.
Now, Indiana's holding down the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference at 6-8. So if this was the East, it would be a hell yeah situation. But
if this is the East, they'd be the 4 seed by the All-Star break.
Right now, the 8th seed are the Clippers in the Western Conference, and they're at 8-5. So you'd have to make up, like Frank said, 6 games or so just to be in the mix for the 8th seed, and that's making it up while these other teams are probably still winning games at the same time because the West is so tough. Even the people down in the 7th and 8th seed, you just don't expect them to just go on losing streaks and allow Oklahoma City to make up ground all that easy. When this first happened, I made a comment, when the two guys got injured, I made a comment that this could be great for OKC once the playoffs start, but it was all dependent on whether or not the team could at least go 500 without these guys. We see that they could go nowhere near 500 without these guys as they're currently on a 6-game losing streak. So I don't know. I'm at the point where I might just have to take that back because I was figuring if they could go 500, buy these guys some time to come back, they'd be the most dangerous 8th seed in the history of 8th seeds. But at 3-12 in the Western Conference, I don't know if that's the kind of start that you can overcome. So it's going to be definitely tough on these guys unless they make a run that tells us they were going to be the runaway number 1 seed had they been healthy in the first place. And I just don't know in the Western Conference that that's true. B. Austin, what do you think?
Easy answer. Scratch this season. Develop your young players. I thought it was going to be tough without Kevin Durant.
D Rose in the season?
Yeah, it's time to. They could even, they could call my man that runs this team.
Hinkie. Yeah, Sam Hinkie will give him some pointers.
Call Hinkie and give some pointers, get some ideas, give some thoughts.
What send you that blueprint
we can do to take advantage of being garbage. The bottom line with the Thunder, and it's something that I would say even with the presence of KD and Russell, once you get beyond those two guys, I mean, God bless the African brother. He has a great choice in women, but he is not he's not the third option. that you thought or needed. He's turned himself into a finesse three-point shooter instead of developing his footwork. So they can't really count on him as a guy to run offense through. What's the bencher, the point guard?
Reggie Jackson.
Reggie is back, but Reggie is more ugly
That's all
and
they
look.
have right now.
He's more ugly in look than in game at this point. I mean, he's balling a little bit, but it's rough, man. They not in the West. They can't do it. They can't.
And it's really exposed. It's really exposed. They
don't have
players.
talent. Yeah, they don't have talent.
And I mean, partially they're supposed to be who they are because they're supposed to be guys that don't demand the ball because Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant have the ball all the time. But it's really exposed. Honestly, how bad the James Harden trade was is the one thing I keep thinking of when I watch this team. I'm like, you got Steven Adams and Perry Jones, who's not playing, but he was doing pretty well. And like, you got all these guys that maybe one of them is going to be half of what James Harden is. You know what I mean? And James Harden's out here playing an MVP-like season for Houston, and I just can't help but think that is why you keep James Harden. This scenario is the exact reason why you don't trade James Harden. He's like an insurance policy, and I know it's hindsight and it's years later, but I just still don't get it. I didn't get it at the time, and I don't get it now.
I don't necessarily think he would have stayed anyway.
I was about to say.
I think they traded him because they knew what it was going to be, because James Harden wasn't going to accept that role for too much longer. In my opinion, I don't think
for his career.
That role.
He's not a career.
He thinks he's just as good as those guys, and a lot of people out there might agree with him.
I'm not one anymore.
I think they were just being proactive with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
They did it at the wrong time. They probably could have waited a while and tried to make that last run while they had those three together. But
in an ideal world, Frank, you're absolutely right from a managerial standpoint. But the reality is, if you're looking at it from the player standpoint, even some of his fans, dude was never going to stay there. Who comes to the league with that much offensive talent? We have to make that clarification. With that much offensive talent and sits as a six-man. Like Manu Ginobili is the only guy that comes to mind.
See, I don't think he would have had to have been a six-man once they paid him, though. I think you could have incorporated. I think you could have a Russell Westbrook, James Harden backcourt. I don't think that's a problem at all, especially in today's NBA, where you have smaller backcourts to begin with. And I mean, honestly, for me,
where's your bench for?
They needed the defense, of Cephalosha on the court. I just think they probably looked at that as especially now, the fact that we know the level of defender he is. Like back then, he didn't have this reputation that he has now. But they saw him in practice every day, so I'm sure they knew what kind of defender he was. I mean,
he's a worse defender than Steve Nash. Like,
I want to Harden really, because I've been watching a lot of James Harden this season, and I think he's taken some pride in and probably has been reading all off season everybody ragging on him.
Video I can send you right now that'll prove that wrong.
This season though, I think this season he's played decent defense.
Dev,
this season.
Roll him the tape.
Fast break
roll the tape. Send him the tape. Send him the tape. Yo, send him the tape.
I can't remember which game it was, but it was a close one possession game, and he made a game. Not game saving, but potentially game winning steal, and played very, very good defense.
Let me tell you what James Harden does, man. James Harden, because we can't belabor this, but because of the beard and for the honor of the beard, beard gang hashtag, James Harden will play on ball defense occasionally, just for the pride of the game. Like, take the money away, take the NBA away. It's like, yo, I'm gonna bust your ass. No, I'm gonna bust your ass. No, all right, cool. He will D up occasionally in those situations when he's playing Kobe, when he's playing another marquee two guard, and the cross matchup may happen because typically they'll hide him and he won't get. But as far as like real NBA team defense, yo, dude is putrid, and it's to like a Vince Carter level, because you see the athletic ability, the talent, the body type, the strength. Yo, he is horrendous still.
Yeah, but that's why his defensive deficiencies have nothing to do with athletic ability. He's just lazy, because most of the glaring deficiencies in his defensive game come when his man is off the ball. Like he'll just, the guy will be running a screen to the opposite side of the court, and he'll still be standing there because either he's too lazy to act like he's even going to look at dude, or he's just not that bright and he's not keeping track of what his man is doing. But he has to get better at that. I mean, and he does.
I
the only
agree.
thing sometime on fast breaks as well.
I do disagree with the point that he
plays D
wouldn't
like
have
me
stayed.
in a pickup game.
I think honestly, when they made that decision, they were choosing Serge Ibaka over James Harden. I think that was a huge part of their decision too. I think they honestly thought that Serge Ibaka might have been a better player than James Harden at the time. They were completely wrong. And I think they're seeing that now.
Serge wants to shoot threes. He wants all the wavy, light-skinned girls loving him now. He's I don't know what he's doing. He's still playing B. He locks up.
So let's see. Where are we into the season right now? We're about roughly 14 games into the season, 14, 15 games into the season. Do you guys have a surprise team, good or bad? Surprise team or teams, good or bad?
Go ahead.
I would say, to be honest, I mean, I'm a huge Grizzlies person, but I think the way that they've jumped out of the gate is very surprising to me. Specifically,
12-2.
And we've talked about this, off camera, but Vince Carter becoming somehow like the ideal role player for a team, and not just like one of these dudes that as soon as his athleticism left him, he would just like fall off the face of the earth. Him actually molding his game to become a role player is maybe one of the most surprising things I've seen in all of my time watching basketball, and I'm not even exaggerating. It really is legitimately one of the most surprising things I've ever seen. And I think
you play for a team where you're afraid of all the players on the team.
They big boy. But I would have to go with the Grizzlies, and it makes me think what would have happened if Marc Gasol was healthy last season too. But I would go with the Grizzlies as my surprise team.
Okay. For me, surprise in a good way. I would actually, there's a few. I mean, Milwaukee being in the mix right now around that 5 seed. I would even throw Toronto out there. Not that I didn't think they were good and know that they were a playoff team, but 12-2 to start the season, just like the Memphis Grizzlies, that's surprising to me. Like, I held Toronto up as a top 3 or 4 seed, but to jump out the way they did, I'm definitely surprised. I'll throw Memphis in the mix as well. Frank already explained to everybody out there why that's a surprise, and I'm not a big believer in the Clippers, but I'm still surprised that they're just 8-5 to start the season. Because to me, they're regular season warriors. Like they're not supposed to struggle like this until the playoffs start. So those are my surprises, team wise. B. Austin.
Bucks, Timberwolves, and Clippers. So the Bucks, I just generally don't believe in anything going on in the state of Milwaukee with regards to professional basketball, typically, and so to see them performing, they got a great young nucleus. It still could all come apart because things fall apart. In a way, Achebe said that. I would say yes, the Clippers are surprising because now with the other Los Angeles team falling off of the face of the universe, the Clippers have the opportunity to really cement themselves as the superpower in LA and maybe one of the superpowers in the West. And they still probably will do that, but the struggles, you're right, Dev, are surprising with the type of talent that they have. They are talented all the way, like through and through. Like they're balanced. They have defensive talent with the pivot players. They've got the perimeter locked down. They're just all over. They're too good. They're too talented. I'll say to struggle. I want to go back to a point that Frank made with regards to Memphis. The Vince Carter situation for me does several things. Number one, it just cements for me my disappointment in his career because Vince Carter had all of the talent and ability in the world, but he had the heart of a pigeon, and it shows up.
Dribble the
Damn.
ball.
that he's comfortable in a role where there's no pressure. I think Vince wakes up in the morning excited and happy to play basketball as if it's 10 years ago because that pressure of being the man is removed. And they probably didn't have to punk him too tough to get him to fall in line. Dark skinned Jermaine probably just walked up to him and said, no, if you don't do what
Be
we
about
say,
that action, boss.
you know we're gonna F you up, right? And Vince was like, no problem. I'm here to do as you say, and as you do, I don't want any problems. I mean, even if you need me to play defense, I know you know my reputation. I apologize for that, guys. I will fall right in line. But yeah, Memphis out to a great start. Don't know how long that'll last. My apologies once again to one Mike Conley. You are not the garbage that I thought that you would be. You aren't good, but you are carving out a nice niche for yourself as a good, solid NBA point guard. Like you're good. You are.
No, but earlier you mentioned in your surprises the Minnesota Timberwolves. Was
Yeah.
that
I was curious
slip
about that
up?
as well.
The Grizzlies, or what surprises you about the Wolves?
Oh yeah, that was a slip up. I didn't mean.
I was-
I actually was.
Surprised that they garbage? 'Cause I'm not.
One team I forgot in my surprise in the bad way was the Charlotte Hornets. I thought they're 4-11 right now. I thought they would be. I wasn't a huge fan of the Lance Stevenson signing. I think all last season, if you guys watched this show, I said that if Lance went anywhere besides Indiana, I thought he would struggle. And I think you're seeing that. He's kind of looking at Kemba like, "You're taking the last shot." I thought that's why they brought me here. Like, I thought that's why
depending upon a wild ass ghetto child to get their buckets, their lives together.
You can see Lance just kind of like side eyeing like Kemba, like I thought this is why I'm here. I thought I was here to be the alpha dog, and I think he's a little surprised at what's kind of going on there. But I thought they would be at least as good as they were last season, but they seem to be worse for some reason, mostly because they can't score the basketball, and I think they're going to have to figure out a way to make it all work or make a change, but you can't make a change because you're locked in long term.
Frank, that's a great point. That's an interesting point. I think that at some point in Lance's life, if he gets his mind together, he can be a 1A or a 1B option. But right now, I think it's premature for you to place all your marbles and bet on Lance. I think the talent is there. I think he overestimates his own talent and abilities at this stage of his career, and I think mentally he's not ready to be what he thinks he should be in the league.
Right.
Talent is definitely there. There's no questioning. I mean, look at what he's doing on the boards. He's leading all two guards and he rebounds like a forward easily. And the talent, the strength, all of that is there, but mentally he's still the clown prince at some level, and I think that gets in the way along with the ego. Hopefully he'll continue his path of maturity and he'll grow into it, because him that's a good nucleus. Him, Kemba, Al, and
MKG.
And yeah, that's a nice nucleus. That's a nice nucleus, but I'm not sure if he's ready to lead.
Right.
And that's what you bring him in for and pay him that type of contract, is to be some semblance of a leader. And he's never had that responsibility. So I think that's a part of the struggle you're seeing early. Dev, what do you think?
Well, the other thing I just want to add in real quick, because I always thought, as far as Lance Stevenson goes, I always thought Frank Vogel always had a good grip on him as a player and can kind of like hone him in when he saw things going wrong. But yeah, Dev, I'm curious what you think as well.
Of the whole Lance thing, I don't have too many, thoughts besides what you guys just said on the whole thing. I did pick Charlotte to be amongst the playoff contenders, probably up around 6th seed or so. So, right now,
and it can still happen. It can still happen.
Yeah, it's still early in the season.
East.
But,
it's the East.
And it is the East. So if anybody can get off the mat and make a run, this is the conference to do it in. But I just wanted to give a shout out. I want to go another direction. I wanted to give a couple of shout outs before we get out of here, because we are about to get out of here. First shout out, I don't want to give a shout out to Kobe Bryant, leading the league in scoring. He's the 40th best player in the NBA. He's leading the league in scoring. I mean, his shooting percentage is about near his ESPN rank, but it's all good. He's 19 years in, 36 years old, playing with a team that has no chance to do anything. If there was ever a time to pad your stats, Kobe Bryant, this is the time to do it. So shoot away, my
Amen.
brother. I salute you. I don't
Amen.
care what all the detractors say. Just
Amen.
keep shooting. Shout out to Anthony Davis because this dude is getting scarier and scarier by the minute, maybe even by the second. He is second in the league in scoring right now. As good as I thought he was already,
He might be better.
and as much as I thought he was going to keep ascending, I didn't expect him to be in the top 2 in scoring, not even if it just lasts for the first half of the season. The dude is averaging 25.5 points a game, 11 rebounds, almost 2 assists, and 2 steals a game. Like, come on, man. And and 3.5 blocks per
And
game.
he's playing with guards that don't even like to pass.
Yo,
It's scary.
he's so
scary.
he's so good. Just I know you got another shout out to or two. He's so good.
I don't.
He's so
I just
good
want to go
that
scary. Dude.
I don't want to say what I really think about him and how good he is because I'm scared to say it this soon. Yo, whatever you think I'm gonna say about how good he is, I'm probably thinking that. Like, he's a problem.
Yeah,
He is a problem child.
I mean,
And he doesn't even know how to play yet.
yeah,
He's
exactly.
still learning how to play. He doesn't know it. He makes mistakes, and his line will be like 30, 12, 3, and 4. And that
Just
was
tonight,
like,
he stole a ball. He stole a ball against Sacramento and dribbled it down one end to the court to the other, 3 dribbles. That's all it took him to get down the court, 2 steps, and laid it up like a point guard. Like, what are you supposed to do with a guy that can block shots, pretty much leads the league in rebounding, and then can dribble like a point guard all the way down the floor? Like, that's not even fair. That's not even cool.
That's Shaquille O'Neal All-Star Game type stuff. He didn't do it in the real games. It was in the All-Star Game. This dude is doing it in the real game. All right, so we're about to get out of here, but I'll let you guys give some parting shots, some shout-outs as parting shots. So I'm putting y'all on the spot real quick. Both of y'all give 3 shout-outs to whatever you want to give a shout-out to. In
Damn.
The league. Or 2 or 3. Put it that way.
I'll shout out Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. I slept on both of you as far as the best backcourt, and I think that you guys are proving your worth. I'm going to shout out Paul Pierce, the truth. He's still doing it. I think that the leadership that he's given in Washington has gone a long ways in establishing that team as a threat in the East. And who else do I want to shout out? I want to shout out the whole Southwest Division because I don't know how you guys are going to decide who's going to win that division. It's going to have to be like some straight up just wars,
draw
like
straws.
just battles.
They're gonna have to draw straws.
Yeah, I mean, you got the champion Spurs, obviously going straight path as usual. And then you got the other 2 Texas teams, and then the Grizzlies, obviously we've talked about, and then the Pelicans. And I mean, it's just a crazy division, and I think those are 5 playoff teams right there. And I just want to shout out that whole.
I'm about to say, I don't even think it even matters. They're like, as long as we get up in that 8, we're good. But shout outs.
Yo, first of all, shout out to myself for wearing a Sixers hat. On this shout out
that take more than a pigeon heart. Shout out to Vince Carter.
Yeah, take more than a pigeon heart. Shout out to Sam Hinkie for whatever you're doing, yo.
I'll be trying to explain it to him.
Yo, I mean, you be trying to explain. I can't get next to it. I just be feeling like I should put the 6 months in that I need to put in to get in shape, because them dudes really aren't better than me. Like, real talk. Look at my eyes. They're not better than me.
This is the time to get a 10-day contract. This is the
shout out to the waffle colored brothers bringing the New Jack Swing back out in the Bay. Yo, Klay Thompson, yo, salute, man. I see you.
Yeah,
Del Curry's son, salute. I see you, yo.
Del Curry's son, who had 40 tonight.
Yo, Del Curry's son is Del Curry needs to be proud, and it has nothing to do with his career. Yo, yo, man, shout out to James Harden's defense. Like for real, it's getting to the point where if I see you, I might cut your beard. Like word up, and I know you can't fight. I know you can't fight.
Yo,
Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
real quick. I know you shouted out the Sixers a couple times. You guys put any weight into this Kentucky beating the Sixers nonsense? Because I think that the Sixers would smoke them.
Yeah, I think they would. It's a difference when you're a grown ass man, and I think that if you played a series, there's more legitimacy to the fact that or not fact, but the thought that they could get one, maybe if they're playing 5 games or 7 games. But if you play one game for all the marbles, a grown man just isn't going to allow a kid to beat it. Like you just can't do that. There's just, I don't see that happening.
My thing is this. I never usually buy into this whole, college teams beating professional teams, but the conversation is usually around football teams. And that's truly a different world when you step from college to a professional football field. In the NBA, especially in this situation, it could be a little different because a lot of the 76ers should still be in college. The only thing is
Division
they
two
have competed and they've played so far, night after night, and some of them for multiple years against better competition, against,
Right.
Real NBA men. So that gives them the upper hand in this whole thing. And I think in a series, the Sixers would definitely win. But I wouldn't.
They might could get one. They might could get one against.
Yeah.
Yo, I shout out to John Wall, man.
I hate people disrespect pro teams like that, but the Sixers disrespecting themselves. So
yeah, you shout out to John Wall. I know Dev told me 3, but I had double that. Shout out to John Wall and that conversation we had in Hooters on 7th Street in D.C. 2 years ago. I told you, young boy, that you're on your way as long as you stop dancing. Stop dugging, stop shucking and jiving for the white man. You are on your way to being the top point guard in the NBA. I mean, Kyrie, I like you, dude. The handle, the wops. Yo, I love it. The shot is there. John Wall can't shoot a gun if it's loaded for him and pointed in the right direction. But he does John Wall, you do everything else, and you do it well. You're showing leadership. You D up, you rebound, you pass, you bring energy to that squad. Best point guard in the world in the next 3 seasons. John Wall, shout out to you.
Yeah, you know what I love about John Wall, everything that B also mentioned, but what he didn't mention, my favorite thing is that not only is John Wall ridiculously fast, but he's ridiculously fast with the ball. You put the ball in his hands, and it's, a lot of people can run, but like you put the ball in his hands, and he's still going just as fast as he was without the ball. I think that's a rare quality.
Shout out to Barry Lumpkin or whatever the baseball player's son up in New York, starting at point guard, taking people's jobs, and nobody ever heard of him. Shout out to him. Shout out to Melo in the Triangle.
That's C. Austin 65. Shout out to me.
Shout out to Boogie Cousins.
but he had to take his opportunities because shout out to the homie Fred Purdue from Field Vision. So look,
shout out to Jimmy.
Shout out to everybody out there watching, man, because we know a few people out there was actually waiting on this next Court Vision episode, and we appreciate that support. So I know you guys, most of you guys that are watching, you've already done this, but if you're watching for the first time, just make sure you like the page, you subscribe to the page, you like the video, you leave your comments in the comment section. Tell us, what are your surprise teams right now? You tell us if you think OKC is going to make the playoffs. What's up with the Cavaliers? Are they still going to grab one of those top 2 seeds? And anything else we talked about, and if you want to give any shout-outs, for the first 15 games of the NBA season, you can do that in the comment section as well. But you know how we do. Y'all can check us out, sports-kings.com, for everything you need, especially that hoops action. You can check out Pass the Pill on the Sports-Kings website. You can check out warroomsports.com. And everything we got going on. Check out the podcast, The War Room. That's every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. at warroomsports.com. check out everything here on the War Room Sports TV. Everything we're doing here and on our podcast network, WRSPN.com. But I'm done with advertising and plugging everything that we do here at War Room Sports and Sports Kings. Like we always tell you guys, don't accept mediocrity and be steadfast in the war against ignorance.
We will see.
Jumps up there somewhere.
On
Hope
that
you're renting
topic.
Deion Waiters.
Yo, man, shout out to Officer Darren Wilson. Yo, martyrs die once, cowards live forever.
Wait, it's the war room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys, diversified and educated.